So she's omitting. She is omitting information, which is literally what she just accused mainstream news of doing. She's literally doing it, and she's doing it on a platform where she knows people are going to get outraged about it, which is another problem.
Yeah, every single point I brought up here is just her omitting valuable information. Honestly, just like a grifter would do. And like I said, it kind of breaks my heart because I am somebody who respected Ana Kasparian quite a bit. And like, I didn't even watch this whole thing. I got these clips in the first like 45 minutes, and it was just kind of rough for me to watch.
So yeah, we're going to talk about a few different things today. Got a few topics. You know, we've been trying to talk about one of them for a while now, and we just kept pushing it. But like Ana Kasparian.
Yeah, we'll have plenty to dive into, and I haven't even dove into all of it, but already there's so much to talk about.
True.
It's very disappointing because I am somebody who was a big fan of hers, and I don't think I can say that anymore. But
I mean, I wouldn't.
It's a little heartbreaking for me.
I mean, look, she went on freaking Adam and Sitch, and only fucking scumbags go on that show.
I know. No, what piece of shit will go on Adam and Sitch? Well, it all depends on the context, too.
The Young Turks.
Yeah. It's starting to sound like that. I will say, like, I haven't looked into her recent stuff on the Young Turks specifically, but according to what I've heard, her and Cenk are getting into more on-air fights. So,
cool. So, I mean, I haven't watched them much at all. Like,
it's been a while for me.
I used to watch them because that was like almost the only place you could find kind of, progressive to that degree content. Or at least where I knew where to find it. And then, in the last several years, it's been lots of stuff has popped up, and I've kind of moved over to watching that shit. And it's like, I don't know. I didn't like when I heard that Cenk didn't let his staff unionize.
Yeah, that was bad.
Like, hey man, aren't you the fucking the leftist union guy? Kind of weird.
Well, I feel like we're already there. We want to just dive straight into that.
Let's do it.
All right. So you guys probably remember a few months ago when she made this banger of a tweet. I don't remember if she's deleted this or not. But this was just weird, and I brought it up to maybe address or during an initiative stream or a regular stream. I don't know. I just kind of didn't want to because Ana Kasparian is honestly somebody who I respect. I'm willing to let one cringe take kind of fly.
But, you'd hope that she would listen to some of the feedback she was getting. And I'm sure she was getting a lot of bullshit too, like hostile stuff. Even though there's some valid reasons for people to be hostile to this kind of thing.
Well, the whole tweet is just, I am a woman. Please don't ever refer to me as a person with a uterus, birthing person, or person who menstruates. How do people not realize how degrading it is? You can support the transgender community without doing this shit. And the only time the other terms are used is like when we're talking about like legal documents.
Medical stuff.
Medical stuff.
My girlfriend works in medical billing, and she says that's when she sees it. Like, but and that's what everybody kept saying is like, how often are you hearing this? And what context?
Who looks at Ana Kasparian and says, "Oh, look, a person with a uterus"? Like, nobody's gonna call her that. Like, when does that happen? I
don't know.
It's a weird take.
Well, I mean, DJ, you're more plugged into the trans community and stuff. Is that anything that they're prioritizing at all that you've seen, or?
No, not as far as I know. I actually had never even heard anything about it until she talked about it. I mean, like it was not even a term or a conversation that was being had. When she brought it up, several people that I know said, yeah, there was some article that came out a couple years ago that talked about it, but it was never like a talking point with any of the trans people that I know. So
I wouldn't assume so. It's just what it seems to me is like, okay, because if you get on Twitter, there's lefties that are taking kind of they may have a valid starting point, but they'll take things in just like a really absurd direction, or like to an absurd degree, and it'll be like one or two people or something, and they'll have like 10 followers, and then but the right will often like seize on something like one of those takes, and like, oh, you shouldn't say this, you should say this, and it's like, yeah, that's just one random person saying that, though. It's not like the entire left is saying it. That's what it feels like to me. Something like that. Like somebody said it to her, and anyway.
We're gonna dive into that. Like keep that idea that Dane just said in your head, because we're gonna dive right back into that like here in a little bit once we go over some stuff. Because this is what she posted earlier this month, and this tweet is deleted now, but it's worth pointing out how weird this is. So the civil rights movement did not use the same strategies as the trans movement. They didn't barricade speakers they disagreed with in a classroom for 3 hours. They persuade through nonviolence and showing America their humanity. Serious revisionist history going on here. Serious. Let me bring it up. So one of the most famous cases that she seems to be forgetting about. Have you guys heard of somebody named Samuel L. Jackson?
Who's that motherfucker?
Say what again, motherfucker?
Yeah, I've never heard of him. Well, back in 1969, when he was at Morehead University, he barricaded in protest. He barricaded the boardroom of the college, including Martin Luther King Jr.'s father, in protest to get more black members on the board. He did that for a day and a half. Martin Luther King's senior, he did have medical issues, so they helped him out a window. But yeah, this take by her is like rose tinting on the civil rights movement. Yeah, sometimes people do stuff during like civil rights protest. It's a weird take from her.
It's a reactionary take because that the right tries to do this shit a lot, where they're like, they try and fucking, it's essentially tone policing in a certain way. Like,
what is it in reference to?
Can I also say that this take from her is a little weird because clearly non-violent stuff hasn't worked. You know what I mean? Like people in marginalized communities have been crying out for years about this, and they're getting no support through legislation or the government. Like there's a lot of like words being said, but there's not a lot of actions happening. I mean, the fact that we're seeing rights being stripped away from people, what do you expect them to do? You know what I mean? Sit around and just go, oh, well, I guess I'll just make a post on Facebook or something. Like, what are you supposed to do at that point? I'm not saying that violence is always an answer, but there's frustration when you're in a marginalized community where your rights are being taken away, and sometimes unconventional methods of getting your voice out there is the only option you have.
Yeah, we can't let the state have a monopoly on violence, right? Like they're the only ones that are allowed to do it whenever they choose to do it, right? No, fuck that.
So I can't find the case she's citing specifically. If someone in chat wants to link it, go ahead. But I don't know. To me, it's kind of a neutral point because like shit like this happens in protest. It does. I don't know what.
There's like a small percentage of what that statement is that I actually agree with, and you shouldn't. If somebody is speaking at anywhere that you disagree with, that just let them do whatever. If there's, not everybody's you.
I don't know. I mean, I think there generally, there's things like, like whenever the Proud, like Gavin McInnes, for example, I read an article a while back that he was supposed to speak at some college, and like the college, the students decided we're going to protest this and try to make it to where he can't speak.
Yeah.
And it's like, and this goes to that thing we've talked about before, where it's like, they're just fascists, and the only thing they want is to shut down any kind of progressive or slightly leftward speech and thought. And meanwhile, they want to propagate their shit. And they're doing it in dishonest ways, and they're doing it, the Proud Boys are literally using violence, and deception and stuff to achieve whatever the fuck they're wanting to achieve. So like, at a certain point, you can't just give up all the tools in the fight and let them have them all, right? Like I don't know. It's.
Well, I mean, my huge disagreement with this tweet isn't so much like barricading people in. I can see an argument where you shouldn't be barricading people in, but it's like trying to paint the trans movement as if it's somehow like, this is like the civil rights movement had it right. The trans movement is like some sort of special like evil or some shit.
Was she
I
talking
mean,
about
my
a filibuster?
issue.
Was this
It's
in
just-
reference
we're
to
talking
the
about
filibuster?
protest.
Is that what this was? I was trying to look it up. I think this might be in reference to like a filibuster or something along those lines, where
Well,
they basically held them there for hours at a time. Is that?
yeah, that's not violence, is it? Like,
I can't find anything else about this, about any person barricading speakers into a trans person barricading.
It sounds like maybe
room.
cherry picking to make some sort of point.
well, yeah, and also like if you have a broad movement of people and then you zero in on like one instance and go, that's what the movement is doing. You know, they do that with Black Lives Matter a lot in 2020. It's like, yeah, there were people that were taking part in the protests and stuff that were doing shitty things, you know, but it's also like the sheer number of people that were taking part in favor of Black Lives Matter. Of course, there's going to be some percentage of shitheads, you know, but like then they want to take those and go, look, this is what Black Lives Matter is all about, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, Stonewall was pretty violent,
But anyways, she went on Adam and Sitch, or Madam and Bitch, depending on
Madam and
who
Bitch.
you want to call them. You know, and you know that's not automatically bad. I know a couple people who've been on Adam and Sitch. TJ Kirk's been on there, but kind of depends what your rhetoric is when you go on there. Are you going like? And we're gonna go over that because I got some clips here that are interesting.
And in relation to that,
political
by the way,
transfer.
I think finally, Friday, I'm going to look at some of our visit to the Madam and Bitch show. Just to kind of show what happens whenever you're not someone who is totally willing to grift in their direction.
Information, evolution. I don't really know the right word to call it, but I'll let you talk about that. But first of all, people want to know, because you did mention in our little chat in DMs that I was wrong about the Daily Wire thing. Now, I make predictions on the show all the time, and I have never been wrong before. So people, I've been making jokes about you might end up at the Daily Wire. That's not true?
No. It's funny because, you know, I'm going through something very real and very sincere, and it's uncomfortable, and it has not been an enjoyable process for me. It's been difficult. And so the internet being what it is, all sorts of people from all sorts of political ideologies have theories on like what's actually happening with me, right? And the main accusation, both from the left and the right, is that I'm grifting, which is hilarious because literally nothing has changed about my work life. I'm in the same place. I have the same audience.
Yeah, well, I mean, the grift is not like a overnight thing. Whenever you're doing the I left the left kind of thing, it's you know, it's going to take some time probably, and you know, I don't know. I'm if it's not a grift, I don't know what the fuck she would be doing.
I'm
You know what I mean?
actually. We're gonna dive into it, not quite in this segment because this is just kind of introducing us to where she's at. But
Okay,
I'm leaning heavily in grift once I get into this.
I have to give credit for the cinematography because she's got that vanishing point behind her, and nice choice of placing the camera.
The symmetry is good, yeah.
It rhymes.
That's exactly right. And so, yeah, whenever we went on there, that's not really what this is about, but I can't help but talk about it because. So, like, when I started my channel, the first time I ever covered Ethan Van Sciver, that same day, Adam Friend had showed up in my comments, and I had no idea who he was then. But I had a friend who had been doing YouTube for a while in political kind of areas, and he saw me. He's like, dude, that's a big deal. And I was like, oh, yeah, is he, you know, somebody cool? He's like, no, he's not cool at all. But the fact that he's fucking showing up to your channel means that, like, you're getting somebody's attention. And I was like, oh, okay. And you know, he had invited me to come on his show or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't going on shows at that point yet. I was pretty new. But then, you know, eventually I saw, like, I checked out some of their content and checked out my friend had been on their show. His channel's name is freaking One Species. He hasn't made a lot of much content in a long time. But anyway, he'd been on there and he was invited to watch a video with them. That's what they said. Just a friendly kind of like, hey, let's just watch some videos and on stream and stuff. He goes on there, and they had chosen a specific video that they knew was going to bring up certain topics. And whenever those certain topics come up, and then they ask him about it, they know it's contentious, and they present themselves as kind of just middle of the road centrists, right?
Yeah, they're the enlightened centrist.
But all of the positions they're defending and attacking kind of indicate kind of right leaning, to put it mildly, kind of right leaning. But yeah, and so it went badly, and then they titled the show after. They were like, we tried to watch a video with one species and it went off the rails. You know what I mean? As if that's not what they do every time they invite a lefty on. And so they showed up. Adam showed up in our chat months ago, in an initiative chat, and was inviting Bob to come on. And exact same shit. Let's watch a video.
And we did. We watched that Fight Club video essay. It was very informative.
So yeah, sorry, I'm covering up DJ here. That sucks. Let me put a different format here.
Well, here,
anyway,
move me to the bottom since I'm having internet shit.
Okay.
There we go.
I see their videos listed as a comedy show. Is it actually comedy, or is that just a random name for their show?
Well, they do put.
I mean, in a fair world, people would look at it.
I feel like
wow,
that's
these people are
titling your show.
ridiculous.
Don't take us seriously, so we can say whatever we want. I mean, that's kind of
That's the exact kind of motherfuckers they are. Is the like, if it's they're joking, if they say, and if you were to listen to our conversation with them, because so what I was like, I was able to tell Bob, thankfully, I was like, dude, do not fucking trust a word this guy says. It's all disingenuous, and it seems to me like their role that they serve is to kind of like serve as a filter for the right. They'll defend Ethan Van Sciver and Comicsgate and stuff, but then act like they're centrists or whatever, and it's just so disingenuous. And their whole goal, and I told Bob this, I was like, they're going to try and paint us as some crazy lefties. They're going to try and stick us with positions that aren't really our positions, and they're going to be really reductive, and they're going to be disingenuous, and they were. That all happened. Generally, like it went okay. I think that we made a couple of really strong arguments throughout the thing. They wanted to talk a lot about the MCU, and
I think we did decent. I think the issue is like debates have become so fucking pointless anymore.
They are pointless, 100%.
You just be like, hey, let's hash out some ideas and see what happens. But everybody's so entrenched that it doesn't matter. And people like these people just lie. And it doesn't matter like how much logic or facts you throw at them. They'll just lie. And
I would even go further to say that both the people going in debates, like honestly, I think both people in the debate, whether it's 1-on-1, 2-on-1, whatever, there's no incentive for either side to give in on any talking point. Like, I don't benefit at all from agreeing with them, because then they're just going to spin it like I agree with them, and now that means that I'm changing my tune or whatever, and they're going to make it look that way. Or if they bend on anything they believe in, then their viewers are going to turn on them. So there's really no reason in a debate to ever really consider anything that the other person is saying. There's no benefit from it.
We didn't do this on purpose, but this is what my stream is about Friday. So,
okay.
White and black enter a debate, and never does gray become a solution. It's always it's just trying to dunk on each other, and it's
I don't want to pull any wind out of your sails, Dane, so we can get back to the video.
What do you mean? No, we can talk about it.
That's what your video or your stream is on.
No, I'm not trying to say we shouldn't talk about it. Like, we definitely should, because this is exactly what I was going to bring up. I was going to watch some of our Adam and Sitch thing and say this is why right here. Like the right used to want to debate all the time. It's the meme is debate me, bro. They don't really do that anymore, because they did that enough, and that's how they kind of propagated their fucking bullshit ideas, is just by debate me, bro, and then just say they're garbage, and then it's out there, and people will adopt it. Some people, and now they don't need to debate, and it doesn't behoove them to debate, because they've gone too mask off, for one thing.
Well, you also need a moderator. I think real debates need moderation. You can't just go into people fighting.
I would say moderator and a neutral place to host it. Like, people can put it on their streams if they want, but there needs to be like a neutral place for it to be posted as well.
That's weird, McLeod, that you've let the lefties kill it for you whenever it's like the right are the ones that have been weaponizing it fucking disingenuously for so long. It's weird.
Debate videos are just echo chamber masturbation pods. That's all they are.
I do think that I do. So like there is still some, maybe not anymore, but I did think there was value in them as recent as like several months ago.
Maybe,
because,
me
because
too.
you can learn how to formulate arguments and not just like to argue with someone, but like so that you understand things better in some cases, and like so you can even just explain things better to somebody who is amenable to what you're talking about.
All right, and let me real quick.
So
this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, okay, Samuel L. Jackson is not the civil rights movement all by himself. Okay,
oh yeah,
but also the trans person, whatever case she's talking about, are you saying that trans person represents the entire trans movement then? But I'm not sure what your point
Samuel
is.
Jackson, wait, hold on. Are we crossing the streams? What's happening with this?
I don't know what that means.
I assume they're trying to say, I assume this person's
the article
trying to say
that was brought up.
Yeah, I brought up how Samuel L. Jackson barricaded some people because Anna was trying to say, they've never barricaded. Civil rights people never barricade people. It's like, yeah, they did. And it seems like this person's trying to say Samuel L. Jackson isn't the civil rights movement. It's like, well, yeah, but if a trans person barricades somebody, that's not the entire trans movement. It's just,
I mean, exactly. That's absolutely right. Yeah. And I think good faith is subjective now to like what people consider good faith, because I hear people saying, oh, that's in bad faith if somebody comes in and has a point of view they're trying to make. Oh, that's bad faith. You came in not trying to change your mind. It's like, I mean, what are you there for otherwise, or
just basically if you make strong arguments and somebody doesn't really feel comfortable addressing them, they might just call you bad faith so they don't have to debate you.
I always consider bad faith like when somebody comes in with like a bit of information they purposely withheld to try and get you try and get a clip out of you or something like that. And you can always tell, like, it'll be halfway through a stream and they'll be like, wait a minute, but what about this? And they'll pull it up and you're like, oh no, this is the one. And then they get a clip on you and they're like, this is why that, and I see it like a YouTube short from like a 3-hour debate or something.
I'm looking at the definition here, and this isn't a debate definition necessarily. It's more like I guess originally it was more like transactions, but like I think it applies, and it kind of leaves room for all of these types of interpretations, because I think we all kind of have a specific thing in mind. But like bad faith is sustained form of deception which consists of entertaining or pretending to entertain one set of feelings while acting as if influenced by another. It's associated with hypocrisy, breach of contract, affectation, lip service. So yeah, like basically fucking Adam and Madam and Bitch are totally bad faith because of the what they say they are versus what they represent and argue.
Also, I think it's very weird. The one thing I've noticed is a lot of these people that go after each other on social media, like fighting all the time and retweeting and going, oh, but I got you here or whatever, and they get on stream together and they want to talk like they're your friend. Like, hey, let's have a conversation, blah, 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 ha, ha, ha. It's like, no, you came after me on social media and tried to fucking call me names and shit. Now you want to invite me on a podcast and act like we're cool?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
I can't do that stuff either, man. Like I told Bob before we went on there, I was like, okay, so I'm going to be struggling to hold my contempt in for these guys the whole time, because I didn't want to just go on and say what I think about them. But like, I guess it's a failing. I don't know. I can't hide it when I don't like somebody. I will fucking just, you can tell. And so, I did pretty well.
I knew it. I could just feel it inside, Dane. I knew it.
All right. So we got some more Anna stuff to look at, because essentially that last clip was just her going, "Oh, I'm going through a political realignment." Seems kind of suspicious, but
she must have a house she wants to pay for or something.
Well, I mean, she goes into a couple of specifics here. So,
what?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Yeah,
getting my information, and I'm not just talking about like independent lefty outlets. I'm talking about like legacy media outlets, right? A lot of them, it's not that they report misinformation, it's that they omit details of the story. Okay,
real quick, I part of the reason I left this in the clip was because this is actually true. legacy media will have tendency to omit segments of the story. It's about being able to read and assess and like kind of figure stuff out, and just like have a media awareness, be able to read the media properly. But yes, if you're talking about legacy media, they rarely lie, but they do omit stuff. But yeah, we were about ready to go into some cringe.
It's
That
also just
would, maybe the
Yeah.
I mean, legacy media, like, the thing that they do generally that sucks is just framing and what they leave out.
Mhm.
So like, I remember during the 2020, George Floyd summer protests, that like I watched a report where I don't remember what news station it was, maybe CNN, and they were like, basically they would stand around. Somebody had gotten like, footage on their phone of the crew standing around not filming anything as everything was calm for hours at a time. Everybody's just, but as soon as things pop off, they're like, fucking, oh shit, get the camera. And they're like filming things whenever it's like, and then you broadcast that out into the world, and people that don't, know any better, they don't tell them, oh, it was calm for hours until right now. They don't say that. It's just like,
if it leads, it leads.
Yep.
100%.
100%.
additional details of the story don't change your mind at all, right? But it's not up to them to decide that. Like, we should know every detail. I think the Amy Cooper story is another example. It was fairly.
So real quick, do you guys remember the Amy Cooper's thing? You'll probably remember. This was a story in 2020. So Amy Cooper was walking her dog off a leash, and Christian Cooper was bird watching in a specific area in the park where you have to have your dog on a leash if you're going to go through that area. And he asked her to put the dog on the leash. She refused, and then essentially, apparently he takes bird watching seriously, because what he'll do if they refuse is like he'll be like, okay, and then he'll like lead the dog away with a treat, and it's kind of weird. But he did that, and then her response was to call 911 and say a black man is harassing me.
I do remember that, yeah.
And yeah, that was fucked up. She ended up getting fired from her job. She did a countersuit, and looking at the evidence, the countersuit was dismissed. It was a bad case.
Fairly recently, I came across Camille Foster's very in-depth investigation into that story, and there were so many details of that story that were intentionally omitted or left out of the legacy media reporting of it.
So, but upon looking at this, I looked at Camille Foster's report, and I looked at like some responses to his report. Essentially, all he did was take her side of the story entirely and report it just as if that was the facts. That's what he did. It's not great, not good reporting at all, in my opinion.
And that painted a picture in my mind and in the minds of many others that, there's no justification for the way that she was, panicking when she was on the phone with the 911 dispatcher, right? But then you get this, then you find out, based on what Camille Foster had found out and reported, was that like she didn't have good cell reception. So the person on the other end of that conversation couldn't hear her. She was panicking because she genuinely thought that she was at risk after, here's another thing that was omitted in a lot of the reports, after she was literally threatened by the bird watcher, right? Who said,
right,
if you're going to do what you want, I'm going to do what I want, and you're not going to like it. And then he proceeds to try to lure her dog to him. And listen, you might still feel that her behavior was uncalled for, whatever. That's up to you. But you should know all those details. And I will say, from my personal opinion, if I'm alone at a park and some random guy tries to lure my dog away from me, I'm going to freak out.
So she's omitting a big detail there about her calling the cops and saying a black man is harassing me, and knowing the type of reaction that would get. I just think that's like, Ana Kasparian is a journalist. Like, it took me maybe an hour researching what she said here to figure out all the bullshit. Essentially, she's doing what she just claimed legacy media is doing. She is like, oh, here's some facts, but I'm going to omit some stuff. It's very frustrating. And honestly, this is the point where I was kind of like, I think she's grifting. Because she has way more journalistic experience than I do, and I was able to poke holes.
I've heard her make some fucking amazing arguments about things that, like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just goes to show that she can, and she knows how. She's choosing not to, I think, in this case. But I wanted to point out how many people, like, look at that $10 super chat on screen.
Yeah, no, they get some super chats there.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that, like, why would they're clearly right wingers. You know what I mean? Like, you've got right wingers saying, yeah, embrace the right wing impulses and stuff. Like, you don't, I don't know, you don't get a lot of right wingers giving us super chats and shit. So I just think it's kind of a.
I mean, clearly she's found there's profit in this. I mean, that's just it. I mean, I can't see any other reason why she would heel switch like this. I doesn't make any sense.
Hey, economic hard times, I guess. I mean, it doesn't justify what she's doing.
So this is completely just me speculating. I would not be surprised if there was a little bit of a wedge between her and maybe some of the other people at TYT, and some outside source saw that and made a offer for her.
I think that happens more often than we can possibly know.
Yeah. That's what I think.
I mean, Dave Rubin, Jimmy Dore. I mean,
yeah, because I mean,
that has to happen to Ana, though.
And if you guys want to, I do have a couple of minute video on dark money. If anybody wants to learn just superficial amount about that, and that's the main difference between, like, it's, if you don't know about dark money and how that shit operates, it might be easy to look at how many giant right wing figures there are compared to the left and go, oh well, clearly, there's more, people behind right wing ideas and stuff like that. When it's like, not really, man. It's because the left doesn't have anybody, believe it or not. Soros doesn't pump money into. I mean, he does put it into progressive causes, but not when it comes to like media like this and shit. And they've just got the Koch brothers are funneling money into everything, as well as some other sources, I'm sure. But the Kochs are, very obviously behind a lot of it. They said they were going to do it when they started doing it. And yeah, so you get stuff like that where you've got maybe like a young black guy who's into comic books, and he's kind of like, bitching about this and that progressive stuff in comics, and maybe you get like Blaze TV offers him a job, and hey, that'd be cool if we had a black dude that could kind of speak to the white people and tell them, no, actually, the things that you believe are right and not racist. Because I think that's what happened with that guy.
Here's another point she made. Not great, too.
The Rittenhouse story, I was going to cover the trial, and I just needed to go back and just like really, really look at all of the details and remember all the details. So when I do the story, I get the facts right. And then as I'm doing that, I come across a New York Times video. And this was a really, really well done video that they posted on YouTube that showed you in slow motion, like how everything transpired that night. And once you see it for yourself, it's really, really difficult to argue that in those moments, he was not acting in self-defense. And this is an area where, Cenk and I disagree, because, if someone's hitting you over the head with a skateboard, that could kill you.
Again, omitting information. Because here's the deal, like Rittenhouse actually had a solid defense for self-defense. My question was always, what the fuck was he even doing there?
Yeah.
He traveled across state lines to defend private businesses? Like, what was he doing there?
Well, so what I think he was doing is, so I'm being from Texas, know some kind of crappy people. My dad had a best friend years ago, Joe, who was, big gun guy, loved his guns. And so I lived in this one town that was like generally mostly the white town. And then the next town over was more the people of color town, right? Because that's how things are segregated unofficially in a lot of places in the South. So Joe would go around on some weekends. He would like drive around late at night, in his car in the next town over and he would have just some guns sitting next to him, right? Basically. And he would try to piss off black people or Hispanic people in their cars or whatever, so that he could have an excuse to use his gun in self-defense. I think that's generally kind of explains what the deal was with Kyle. Just people like that like to put themselves in a situation where they can, justifiably in their minds, shoot somebody. They just want to. And I'm not saying all people who own guns or anything. Definitely not that. But some people just are kind of terrible people.
Yeah. I mean, she's hyper focusing on the video of that moment. And it's okay, you can make a case for that moment. But again, what the fuck is he doing there? And I think you brought excellent point there. Next, we have 2 more points to look at. And these ones are pretty fucking cringe.
It's podcast episodes from Blocked and Reported. I haven't seen anything from Jesse Singal that communicates to me that he is a transphobe, that he is a bad person. He did straight news reporting on basically what, some of the risks could be when it comes to transitioning literal kids with puberty blockers and then cross-sex hormones. And through his reporting, which I'm very sad to say I didn't really come across until this year, I learned that I was wrong about a bunch of other things, right? So for instance, it is a lie that puberty blockers are reversible. In some cases, they are not, and they can cause irreparable harm.
So yeah, as far as I can tell, she's kind of just lying here.
Well,
this is, when it comes to puberty blockers, every medication is going to have different effects to different people. 98% of people who take puberty blockers will eventually move on to full hormone replacement therapy. As far as it being reversible, it is largely reversible. There are cases on the edges that aren't reversible, but
there's cases with every type of thing.
Exactly.
And I need to actually finally get around to posting that conversation with Vito that we had, because that was the thing that we came to with that was he generally, Vito was just yeah, I'm cool with trans people. I'll refer to them how they want to be. He's not hateful in that way, but he's but I do have these concerns about how much, medication and medical procedures and stuff. And it's well, first of all, I think you think there's more medical procedures, surgeries happening than there are. But also, and I gave the example of my shoulder. I have a pinched nerve, and I can get an operation on it in order to get the nerve fixed, right? But there's a small chance that could fuck it up worse and something could go wrong. So and he was also saying that I don't get why I have to be a bigot because I'm saying I have these concerns. And it's well, yeah, because you get called a bigot because you're not just advocating for all surgeries that have a margin of potential failure or error, right? You're advocating about this specific type of surgery. And when all surgeries have some type of, there's some potential for something to go wrong. And
why not just leave it between the patient and the doctor? Why do we have to be invested in other people's medical procedures?
Especially where in his case, he's saying that he firmly believes in people making their own choices and autonomy and stuff. And it's but that's incongruent with that.
Yeah. I feel and this is what I've said in several videos when people confront me about this, I can do a lot of digging, but at the end of the day, every single person medically needs to have their own professional doctor or someone in the medical field who has looked at their information. They've done their they've had their visits with them and blood work done and all that. Everybody is different, and everybody has an opportunity to go in and talk to someone and decide what they think is right for them and what isn't right for them. And if it's not someone that you are responsible for, if you're not their caretaker, if you're not a spouse or a family member who is responsible for somebody's medical situation, and you're not someone who has a child that may need that kind of care, then why are you so adamant about arguing about someone else's medical care?
Exactly.
That's why people get called phobic. That's why people get called bigots, because if it doesn't affect you, and it is gonna, the reality is, I've done a lot of research on this, that when you go to speak to a doctor, they assess whether or not the treatment would be more beneficial to you based on not only physical needs, but mental and emotional needs, because those are valid things. If somebody's mental state is going to be improved by attempting some sort of medical procedure or some sort of, medication or something like that, that outweighs other risks depending on how your therapist and your doctor feel about your particular case. So if you're not someone dealing with this yourself, then you shouldn't be platforming some sort of stance on it, especially if you're not a doctor. I could see if you're a doctor or you're an actual medical professional, but some pundit or some random person on the internet should not be platforming this.
Scott, it's this the same thing that, like, you know, climate deniers do, where it's like, oh, well, these scientists, yeah, well, that's like 0.5% of all climate scientists that you're talking about. You know, and that's just a reactionary thing to do. That's why people are saying she's grifting. You know, she's people that are familiar with her know that she's should be too smart to just do that as an idiot, right? Yeah. Like, so. Because it's possible there are people that are just too dumb to understand this.
I don't think she's dumb, though. That's the thing.
No.
So either like she's taken a fall and taken severe brain damage, or she's grifting.
So grifting,
but
I mean that's pretty much what it is. Yeah, I mean.
So we got one more clip, but kind of shows like this is the type of rhetoric lots of grifters do, and she does it pretty much right here.
Out of or move far away from making sure that they are not denied housing, making sure that they're not denied healthcare. When you move,
she's still talking about trans people, by the way.
Move into like these more fringe areas of like, I mean, there was a story out of the UK this week, blows my mind. There was an LGBTQ group in the UK who suggested that instead of referring to vaginas as vaginas because it might be offensive to transgender men, you know, one of the potential replacements or substitutes could be bonus hole.
Oh, no. Bonus hole?
Yeah, bonus.
Where was this conversation happening? God damn, we're already almost at an hour. We gotta move along.
Well, this is it for this one. But yeah, no, this is what grifters like to do. She's picking out like a random group in the UK that has taken a position that, like, generally people don't agree with. She's touting that like it's like the trans position right now. It's ridiculous.
She's also being disingenuous because it was very specific about what this was, and I looked it up.
Yeah,
it's a very specific group that was basically support for trans and non-binary men. It had nothing to do with cis women at all. So she's omitting. She is omitting information, which is literally what she just accused mainstream news of doing. She's literally doing it, and she's doing it on a platform where she knows people are going to get outraged about it, which is another problem.
Yeah, every single point I brought up here is just her omitting valuable information. Honestly, just like a grifter would do. And like I said, it kind of breaks my heart because I am somebody who respected Ana Kasparian quite a bit. And like, I didn't even watch this whole thing. I got these clips in the first like 45 minutes, and it was just kind of rough for me to watch.
Exactly, Scott. That's the thing, is she's complaining about something that's not even a part of her community.
But yeah, I think we have to face the fact that Ana Kasparian is
think
gone.
About how ridiculous it is. Like she's advocating that now trans men have to refer to their body parts however she sees fit. Like they can't have their own language or dialogue for what they call their own body part. Now not only can you not transition, but now you have to align with heteronormative language, according to her. It doesn't make any sense.
It's almost like we should let doctors and patients decide what's best for them. I don't know.
Ethan Van Sciver, who has, let's just say a few problematic views, you were willing to defend him.
Well, Ethan Van Sciver is like a sexist, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being a sexist.
There's nothing wrong with being a sexist?
No.
But let me just get you on the record right now. You're okay with sexism?
Sexism is fine, yes. I have no problem with sexism.